Right, for this tutorial we're going to use the cosine rule to find a missing side. So I'm going to go through one straightforward example, one past paper example and one non-calculator past paper example. So let's just start with using the cosine rule to find a side. Now something to look out for is you want two sides and the angle in between. It's the same, actually it's the same setup that you're looking for as with area of a triangle. So if you've got two sides and an angle, you'd be able to find the area of a triangle, or you'd be able to find the missing side using the cosine rule. And I sometimes talk about this being your cosy little corner where you've got the side, the angle and the side. And that cosy little corner tells you that you can use the cosine rule. So having a little look at the cosine rule, I've just shown you that we know we can use it because we've got the two sides and that angle in between. Just be really careful which one you're using. The one that starts with a squared, the one with a side, that's the one you want to use when you're finding a side. This one that starts with cos A equals, that's the one you want to use when you're finding an angle. They are just rearranged versions of each other, but it's just more straightforward to start with the one that you want to use. So here we're going to use a squared equals, I'll just copy it down first. So a squared equals b squared plus c squared minus 2bc cos A. I just want you to be really careful when you're copying this down that you actually have 2bc cos A. Don't make that 1c. 2bc cos A. Just be careful there. Right, we've actually not, these sides aren't labelled right now, so I'm just going to set them up and label them the way that I would quite like it to be, because this is saying a squared, A being the one we're looking for. So I'm going to call this A, which means I'm going to then call that angle A. The other two doesn't really matter so much, so I'm going to call this one B, and I'm going to call this one C. Okay, so a squared equals b squared plus c squared. You need the other two sides, minus 2bc cos A. And good thing to just check out is that a squared, the one that you're looking for, or it might be a different letter sometimes, the one that you're looking for, that should be the angle that's used with the cosine rule. Okay. A squared, we don't have a, so we've got a squared equals, substituting in b, 7.5 squared, plus substituting in c, 8.3 squared, minus 2 times 7.5 times 8.3 times cos, and the angle's 52. I'll just squeeze that in there. Right, a squared equals, so make sure it's still a squared equals, you want to write this every time. I'm going to write that into our calculator. 7.5 squared plus 8.3 squared minus 2 times 7.5 times 8.3 times cos 52, close the brackets, equals 48.490 ... It's actually best if you just leave that in the calculator, because a is going to be the square root of all of that. The square root of 48.490 ... We don't want to round it too soon, so actually we can just do on the calculator the square root of that answer. So I just press the A and S at the bottom. So the square root of that answer equals, so A equals 6.963 ... A equals, I'm going to round it up to, that would round up to 7.0 centimetres. Just rounding it to the same number of decimal places as the other two sides. So A is 7.0 centimetres or 7 centimetres. So that's your basic way to use the cosine rule. I'm going to look at two past paper questions now. Okay, so this first one has got a few more words around it. A piece of land is in the shape of the triangle as shown. PQ is 250 metres, that's been marked in. PR 180 metres, that's also been marked in. And angle QPR is 147 degrees. The owner wishes to build a fence along the side QR. Calculate the length of the fence. So calculating the length, you know it's sine or cosine rule. We have this cosy little corner, so we're thinking cosine rule. So I'm just going to copy it out first, and then I'm going to look at changing these letters up. So a squared equals b squared plus c squared minus 2bc cos A. So I've just copied that straight from the formula sheet here. Okay, we're not really using a, b and c again. The one that I'm looking for, so I'm just going to label these P, Q, and R. The one that I'm looking for is P, the one out right here. So instead of writing A squared, I'm going to write P squared. But instead of changing all of these other letters around, I'm just going to start substituting in, because I know that the two sides I'm going to use, the ones that start as B and C, are going to be these ones, 250 and 180. So I'm just going to start substituting the numbers in. So P squared equals 250 squared plus 180 squared minus 2 times 250 times 180 times cos, and just make sure whichever one you're looking for, you're using the angle that's opposite. So we're looking for P, the angle opposite is 147 degrees. P squared equals, let's put that into the calculator, so 250 squared plus 180 squared minus 2 times 250 times 180 times cos 147, close the brackets at the end, equals, we've got 170.380.351 ... And then just as I said before, P is going to be the square root of that. But into the calculator, we're just going to do square root and not write it all out again. Square root of that answer that we just got equals, so P equals 412.771 ... Let's just see, does it ask us to round it to anything particular? Nope, so I'll maybe go 412.8 meters. There we go, and you can just write at the end the length of the fence is 412.8 meters. So just put it back into context, it's always good practice. Right, that's the second question I'm going to do. Moving on to the last question, and this is a non-calculator cosine rule. So I would definitely suggest being sure of using the calculator ones first. So you might want to do some practice, and then you can have a look at this question. Also a past paper question in the non-calculator paper. So in triangle X, Y, Z, XZ is 10 centimeters, YZ is 8 centimeters, and cos Z is 1/8. So just be careful, don't mark in that Z, the angle is 1/8. The angle is something different. Cos Z is 1/8. Calculate the length of XY. So we're looking for this length over here. We've been given a bit of a clue. We've been given cos Z, we've been given two sides. So even from this cosine here, we know we're using the cosine rule. I'm just going to label these sides Z, X, and Y. So copying down the formula as we did before. I'm just going to copy it down exactly the way it's written on the formula sheet. A squared equals B squared plus C squared minus 2BC cos A. Right, I've labelled the sides. I've been asked for the length XY, which I've labelled Z. So I'm not going to write A squared, I'm going to write Z squared equals. And as I said before, instead of just changing all these letters, we can just start substituting in, because we know we're going to use these other two sides. 10 squared plus 8 squared minus 2 times 10 times 8. So that's our B and C. Times, now here, cos A would be times cos Z. Actually, let's just put that in just here, and then I'll change it on the next one. So times cos Z, which we know is 1/8. So just tidying that up a little bit. Z squared equals 10 squared is 100, 8 squared is 64, minus 2 times 10 times 8. I'm going to leave that as that just now. 2 times 10 times 8 times cos Z, which is 1/8. We're now just trying to tidy this bit up, and we're trying to decide what's the best order to put this in. So Z squared equals, I'm just going to leave the 100 and the 64 for now. Okay. You can do this in whichever order you want to do first. So I'm actually going to do 1/8 times 8 first, because that just works out as 1. 1/8 of 8 is 1. 8 divided by 8, 1. So this bit just turns out to be 1. So then it's 2 times 10 times 1. 2 times 10 is 20, multiplied by 1, still 20. And now we're just at the stage where we have Z squared equals 100 plus 64 minus 20, which seems a little bit easier. So Z squared equals 144. Z means, does that mean Z is the square root of 144? We know it's a length, so it has to be positive. So Z is 12 centimetres. And just as before, we're just going to replace it. Asked us for xy. So xy equals 12 centimetres. And that's an example of using the cosine rule without a calculator.